which the Indian man responded back, he's from Sudan, we do this all the time. And the ticket agent said, well, then you'll have to go and talk to my manager. And she directed them down a hallway. And that was the last time that I saw the Indian man. And the black man I didn't see again until he tried to blow up our plane.
And I'd be interested to see, is there a passport? Won't the FBI please show us a passport if there is one?
They won't release the videos from Amsterdam. I mean, this is suspicious.
Oh, yes. I think it's beyond suspicious. It's a clear case of a patsy. So he's a controlled asset. And, of course, it's not a matter of failure to connect the dots. We're hearing all about the unconnected dots. No, this is the desired outcome. Let me just point out a couple of other things here. We're told that this alleged bomber, right, Knicker bomber, whatever they call him, he was in contact with this character Awlaki in Yemen. And, of course, this Awlaki, I call him Awlaki the CIA lackey. Awlaki the lackey, and remember, he's a CIA lackey. He's a double agent, a triple agent, if you want. He is used as a kind of beacon to recruit patsies across the world, and they can always sheep dip somebody like Major Hassan. If they want to say, you're linked to Al-Qaeda, they just have you exchange a few emails with this Awlaki, and that's what he's good for, right? He goes back to 9/11 and Hani Hanjour. So this guy is he's a U.S. agent under whatever layers of garb that he's got. The other thing is, how was this young patsy Omar Farouk Mutallab, how is he radicalized? And I think we're getting some pretty good indications that it's this Brixton Mosque, Finsbury Mosque axis in London, the school for patsies, the British patsy.
Which, by the way, 6 months ago, I remember it, you predicted we'd see plane bombings out of that mosque.
This is not so hard to do. Remember, Richard Reed, mentally retarded vagrant who was sleeping on the floor of Brixton Mosque, I think. He was given the same PETN explosive by somebody, so that's what this Omar Farouk was given then, allegedly, once again in Yemen. So you can see it fits together, and it all comes from these same places.
There are reports today that the Christmas Day body bomber met with an American-born radical cleric, Anwar al-Awlaki. He's believed to be living in Yemen, Awlaki is. He's not only been linked to al-Qaeda in the past, but he reportedly exchanged emails with the suspected Fort Hood shooter Nidal Hassan before that shooting massacre in Texas.
I would also point out that the security company at Schiphol Airport is ICTS, which is a Israeli-owned firm. They were the same firm that allowed Richard Reed, the shoe bomber, to board the flight, the American Airlines flight to Miami. Same explosive material was found in his shoes as was found in Mr. Mutallab's underwear. They ignored the threats on purpose. Obviously, this, we had a lot of people sitting at home over the Christmas holidays, families gathered around a television set. Another terror attack, huge problems for travel now.
When we talk about screenings at the airport and other protective mechanisms along the way, what should we be doing that clearly we're not?
The scanning machines that we currently are beginning to deploy in the U.S. that would give us the ability to see what someone has concealed underneath their clothing.
These body scanners are the key with, like, these different psychological syndromes where people serve the abuser.
Yeah, because that's where you have to get in, as to where this is going. It's not fun. It's degradation. It's the dehumanization of the individual. So really, what they're telling you is not only do you not own your body, you own nothing. You don't even own the patents to your own genes. They're telling you you're a piece of property.
What do they do when you first come into a prison? They strip you and do a medical exam to humiliate you.
They hose you down in front of other prisoners and they laugh at you, make jokes about you.
When Aaron went through, it was even worse because I was behind him.
Yeah, I went through. He told me to go through the scanner, and I said no. He said, why aren't you going to do it? I said, it violates my privacy. And this is what happened. This guy got scared. This guy was physically bigger than me. He was athletic. He started shaking when I said no. You think it doesn't matter to...
Well, because it's a delusional world. He thought he'd found a real terrorist.
Yeah. He was shaking, visibly shaking when I said no. And he tried to trick me to go through it again and told me they were going to body wand me, which they ended up doing. And then he tells me, oh, because I don't like it because it violates my Fourth Amendment, I read too much. Oh, you're one of those who reads too much.
And you said he put his hands on you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he grabbed
When I
me
said
just
no,
like this.
he started shaking. He didn't know what to do, and then his first flinch reaction was to grab my arm and try to pull me through the scanner. It was absolutely crazy, and you got women apologizing to the agents. I'm so sorry, I forgot my mascara and my lipstick. And the Fourth Amendment says if you're going to search, you're not only going to have a warrant, you're going to say specifically what you're looking for. But it's not specific. It's liquids, it's lipstick, it could be shoes, it could be...
Breaking the will of the people. The real purpose of body scanners, and you scroll down, it shows the Nazis and others strip searching women in World War II.
I'll tell you what I would do personally. I would just take photographs of all the mass graves of World War II and the Soviet Union, of all the naked bodies, and have big placards of that. And
Genius!
And saying, we're not going to end up like this. No, thank you.
Great idea, pointing out that they always strip you down before they kill you. I mean, it's a real act of submission. Do you agree with me that this, telling everyone you will be naked body scanned, is a key point in our conditioning and we must resist it?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's an ongoing process of personalization, dehumanization, and getting the public to accept the fact they're nothing but cattle.
Once you're on the plane, you're coming into Detroit, what happens next?
The pilot comes on the speaker and he says we have 10 minutes to landing. Flight crew, take your seats and buckle up. A flight attendant walks by my seat, mumbling to herself, something smells like smoke. I looked up. I'm in row 27. I could see smoke coming from row 19, 8 rows up. It wasn't a lot of smoke at that time, and it looked like it was coming from the floor. So I unbuckled my seatbelt, took a few steps up the aisle to get a better look, and then it burst into flames across the floor of the seats and up the wall to the ceiling. When it burst into flames, people were screaming, fire, fire, terrorists, water, 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 we need water, somebody get water. Flight attendants were screaming. The pilot comes on the intercom and says emergency landing and starts speeding up. And while this is going on, the terrorist man's being hauled off into the first class area by a couple passengers.
We are 5 days into this, and we've not seen any surveillance footage. The media doesn't seem concerned about eyewitnesses seeing a man videotaping the whole flight aimed at this guy.
When we first took off, I noticed about 10 seats ahead of us to the left-hand side, he had a camcorder, and I didn't think much of it. I thought maybe this was his first flight and was just excited. And then when the actual incident occurred, I looked up, and he was the only one standing and filming the entire thing.
That's obvious, an accomplice or a handler or something. We've got this other guy getting him through security. I mean, any other comments?
When we were being detained in Detroit, we were held in an area of the baggage claim area. All the passengers from our flight, there was nobody except for some law enforcement personnel. After we had been there for about an hour, all the time with our carry-on bags, 3 bomb-sniffing dogs were brought in. One of them sat down by the bag that was brought in by the man in orange. He had on orange. He appeared to be of Indian or Pakistani or some similar descent, maybe around age 30. He was walked back to a room, not in handcuffs. He went in the door. He was in there approximately an hour. When he came out, he was handcuffed, taken away. An FBI officer came up to the group of the rest of us passengers and said the following, which is not exact but close. You're being moved to another area. It's not safe here. I'm sure all of you saw what just happened and can figure out why you're being moved.
We were taken to a customs area, and they brought bomb dogs and checked all the luggage with that. Another person was taken aside and handcuffed and brought out, and we were moved into another room for safety reasons, they told us.
My story on this has been the same all along, and the FBI now has 5 versions of their story, which I clearly lay out with a time period and with each version, and they're not credible. There is absolutely no excuse for the reason why. Number one, we were left on the plane for 20 minutes, not knowing if there was another bomb there. Number 2, security allowing us to take our carry-on bags off the plane, and we stood there with all of our bags together for an hour until the bomb-sniffing dogs arrived. And then, after they found one, Well, then we're moved to another area, and now they don't want to talk about the man who was taken away.
You were there. They didn't stop him for immigration violations. The dog went over and sat down in front of his bag. The alert for explosives.
Right. Exactly.
Unless this is a passport-sniffing dog. This is a huge story, one of the biggest out there. The FBI is on this full time. They know what's going on. Why are they being dishonest? And how do we investigate this when the investigators themselves are engaged in clear obstruction of the truth?
You know, I don't know how else to take it. It's either utter incompetence or intentionally hiding something, you know, and I don't know how to take it.
And still, we're now, 8-9 days into this, and we still haven't seen the Amsterdam footage.
Well, and also, why aren't we seeing the video of when he's going through metal detector, passport check, you know, and boarding? You know, this is a modern airport. You'd think they would have video of all this of some sort.
They didn't say, oh, we'll look at that. They just said, no, there was no one helping him, which is very suspicious, instead of just putting the footage out.
If somebody robs a bank or holds up a gas station, well, there's video footage of the incident on the 11 o'clock news, usually that very night. If I'm not correct, well, show the video. What are you hiding?
Well, now, Sunday it came out, 6 days ago, authorities were watching different Nigerian on Christmas Day flights, CNN. What a way to take a huge issue and just kind of put it out there like it's milquetoast. Okay, there was somebody else. Yeah, they did arrest him, but we're not going to talk about it. Kurt, there's a definite cover-up, and you've been vindicated in triplicate.
Not only that, but I don't know if you caught the ABC News article that came out over the weekend. There were a couple sentences snuck in the bottom of this article about female suicide bombers. I don't know if you caught this.
No, tell us.
I'll read it to you word for word. Federal agents also tell ABC News they're attempting to identify a man who passengers said helped Abdul Muttalab change planes for Detroit when he landed in Amsterdam from Lagos, Nigeria. Authorities had initially discounted the passenger accounts, but the agents say there is a growing belief the man may have played a role to make sure Abdul Muttalab did not get cold feet.
Oh my God, you've been vindicated by them on that. But obviously they think the trail's cold now. They have all the surveillance footage. They were involved in a cover-up. Kurt, this is huge.
Well, that was my take on it, but unfortunately for ABC News, they buried it in the bottom of a seemingly unrelated article about female suicide bombers heading here from Yemen. Why is this not front page news everywhere, number one? Number two, why are you burying it at the bottom of this article? Number three, why did you initially discount my story to begin with? It's not like I'm not credible here.
And of course, they had COINTELPRO posing as the Patriot movement attacking you. All the usual suspects. I mean, it never ends, Kurt. We are, of course, going to get into the top story today. In plain view, as if it's no big deal, DetroitNews.com. Okay, it was a U.S. government agent that was the smart-dressed man that led Umar Farouk al-Matab, or the underwear bomber, on to the aircraft in Amsterdam. After a month plus of lying and saying that no such man existed, and saying no one else was pulled off the plane in Detroit, supposedly with the bomb. Now they've admitted that happened as well. Kurt Haskell, the lawyer, and his lawyer wife, they've both on record have been proven right with other witnesses. And you add how they were already getting in Yemen. That's now confirmed. Washington Post. They were planning to already launch a bigger attack, 2,000 troops there. And then right on time, right as the body scanners were scheduled to go in January nationwide. That was already scheduled, folks. They're saying on the news, oh, now we're doing this. Now, I went and looked it up. They were scheduled to go in the additional 214 airports. They were in less than 20.
So although we have acquired these machines, they are not as widely deployed as they should be.
In your current role as a consultant, do you have an interest in body scanners?
We consult with all kinds of firms, including firms that do manufacture body scanners.
You do have some some interest in more sales of body scanners.
As well as a lot of other security measures. But I would point out that I've talked about this for probably the last 3 years.
Read what the scanners do to your body. And the TSA guys, again, you need to know why you're going to be dying in 5 years of cancer. Go ahead.
And then we find this article about terahertz waves, which is what they use to do this scanner. This came in today. And according to one of their studies, I'm just going to read this real quick. Terahertz waves are in the electromagnetic spectrum between microwaves and infrared. And they pass through non-conductive materials such as clothes, paper, wood, and brick. They say the forces that are generated by these THZ fields are tiny and resonant effects that allow the THZ waves to unzip double-stranded DNA, creating bubbles in the strand that could significantly interfere with processes such as gene expression and DNA replication.
So step in the microwave. And of course, the fools don't know that the reports you've pulled up and I've looked at, these things are leaking. But the TSA guys are going to love dying of cancer.
Oh, yeah.
This is fun.
Surrounding it. They're all around it. The thing's right there.
Well, see, that's kind of the good thing, though. See, evil always gets judged. These guys make excuses. They're going to make excuses about scanning naked children, scanning naked women and men. They're going to make excuses about how it doesn't hurt you. They're the ones that are going to die first.
Oh, yeah. 8 hours a day standing around it.
And I'm sad for them, but this is what they want. This is what they get.
This is a test of the emergency alert system.
Let's go ahead and play the clergy response team clip. Now remember, before this became national news, we got the secret documents from pastors who've been recruited by FEMA. We posted the secret documents with FEMA phone numbers. Train your flocks to turn their guns in. Train your flocks to go to FEMA camps. Train your flocks to take forced inoculations. People didn't believe us, just like they didn't believe the MIAC report. Then, suddenly, local news began reporting it, but like it was a good thing. Now, listen, will martial law ever be a reality? And the preachers are there, being paid by the government, faith-based initiative, now continuing under Obama, to tell their flocks to do what they're told by the authorities, and the government's biggest threat is the American people. That's a quote. So, this is specifically the pastors getting ready for us to go to FEMA camps. And there's thousands of pieces of evidence like this, and Glenn Beck saying it doesn't exist. Here it is.
Law ever become a reality in America? Some fear any nuclear, biological, or chemical attack on U.S. territory might trigger just that. And as KSLA News 12 Jeff Farrell discovered, the clergy would help the government with potentially their biggest problem, us.
From my cold, dead hands.
Charlton Heston's famous declaration captures a truly American value, the overarching desire to protect our freedoms. But gun confiscation is exactly what happened during the state of emergency following Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. U.S. troops also arrived, something far easier to do even now thanks to last year's elimination of the 1878 Posse Comitatus Act. That forbid U.S. troops from policing on American soil. If martial law were enacted here at home, like depicted in the movie The Siege, easing public fears and quelling dissent would be critical. And that's exactly what the Clergy Response Team, as it's called, helped accomplish in New Orleans.
Jeff, the primary thing that we say to anybody is let's cooperate and get this thing over with, and then we'll settle the differences once the crisis is over.
Such clergy response teams would walk a tightrope between the needs of the government versus the wishes of the public.
In a lot of cases, these clergy would already be known in the neighborhoods in which they're helping to defuse that situation.
For the clergy, one of the biggest tools that they will have in helping calm the public down or obey the law is the Bible itself, specifically Romans 13.
Because the government is established by the Lord, you know, and that's what we believe in the Christian faith. That's what's stated in the Scripture.
Civil rights advocates believe the amount of public cooperation may depend largely on how long they expect a suspension of their rights might last.
And see, here is Mother Jones. Should Obama control the internet? It says right here, Senator John Rockefeller, goes by Jay Rockefeller, has announced they need to end the internet, that it's bad, and that private companies will have government hubs tied into them to snoop on everyone without warrants and to be able to shut down the web instantly. See, right now the government has to get warrants and go out and seize all the hubs. Here's another one, America's Secret Police. Intelligence experts warn the proposal to merge 2 Pentagon intelligence units could create an ominous new agency. And the head of cybersecurity just resigned 3 weeks ago, saying the Pentagon and Homeland Security are taking over the internet and it's a threat to freedom in America. So their own guys quitting, saying this takeover is happening. All the radio and TV in the nation under the emergency alert system in 96, under a federal law and executive order, FEMA is wired into the transmitters themselves and cable to take over all the systems and broadcast anytime they want. Before, the stations would tune to a signal themselves. Now that's out of their hands. All of that's going on. So see, they've got the preachers, they've got the citizens, they've got the military prepared for martial law, and they could remotely listen to you even when the cell phone's off. That's standardized the cell phones. And all telecommunications companies were given $9 billion total to put in whole floors for the NSA to move into. So the NSA doesn't tap the phone companies. They are the phone companies. Just like FEMA on all radio, TV, cable, you name it, is already in control with hubs at the transmitter site or at the satellite uplink site. The last piece of equipment. This is in my film Police State 2000, by the way. See, I was sitting there talking to the engineer in 1996 at KJFK FM, and he calls me over and goes, look at this, Alex. They're ordering us to do this. Here's all the secret documents. We're not supposed to show this to anybody. And I was sitting there reading it. FEMA takes over through this. Everything you do goes through this system. I mean, that's what you hear when it goes, bang, bang, bang. You know, this has been an emergency alert system. That is a federal test tone going via shortwave radio transmitters, dials in, and takes control of your radio station. And that's what they say right here. During emergencies, when they're rounding people up and arresting them and shooting people, their job is to keep the media shut down. They don't have to come arrest Alex Jones. They hit one button, the internet shuts off. They hit one button,
In the not-too-distant future, a self-proclaimed intellectual elite will rule every aspect of our lives.
People in the world are content to stay as first or second level maggots.
The economy is emerging from the recession.
We have to keep geoengineering on the table.
Implementation depends on motivation.
An alarming and possibly catastrophic disaster.
Already the path has been chosen, the design set in motion decades ago. Their endgame?
Complete control. Water. Air.
The economy.
Population and even human